Hi, I'm Debbie and welcome to Book and Bujo, where I talk about all things books, bullet journals, and stationery. Today is a little mid-month check-in and an unboxing. So let's start with the check-in. How am I doing with my reading so far? I'm a little nervous. We'll see what happens. There's at least one book that I can push off until September without any repercussions. The Around the Disc read-along, we've been doing 2 Discworld books a month, but we're so close to the end now that they changed it to 1 book a month. So if I don't get to raising steam by the end of August, I can put this on my September TBR and there'll be no consequences for that. So that's an option. And for the Wheel of Time read-along, I can put Knife of Dreams off for another month. I can do that in September because I think I'm actually a book ahead, but I do have this on 2 Readathon TBRs, so I really do need to get to this one. We'll see. If I need to push it off, then I will, but I'm hoping I can get to it. So what have I read already? Where am I at so far? I have read, got to get out my reading journal cheat sheet here. I have read 8 books, so that's a good start. Now I had 13 books on my TBR from TBRopoly, but I was able to double up on 1 book, so that brought me down to 12, and I've read 8, but they're not necessarily all from TBRopoly. In July, I finished my TBR early. I had like 5 days, I think, left in the month, and I had already read my TBR, and I threw in an extra book, audiobook, just because I wanted to read it because I thought it was a trilogy, but no, there's going to be a 4th book. So that book ended on a cliffhanger. Yay me. Now I won't know what happens until the next book comes out, and it's not out yet. So yeah, I guess I should have looked that up before I started reading it, but it was good. I enjoyed it, and I'll let you know more about that in my wrap up. But I did start Suspending Reality early because I had that one on my TBRopoly, and that was to read a TBR jar book. And Suspending Reality by Chrissy Peebles is the first book in 5 of her different series of hers that she's written. So it kind of gives you a little dip of your toe into the water to see if you want to read all the different series. And so I figured, well, hey, in July I can read at least one of them because there's 4 more books in this little box set, and it was 828 pages total. So I figure if I read 1 book out of there, that's only 200 pages. There's still over 600 pages left in this box set. Then that's totally fine. So I did that, and it ended up having a novella at the beginning. So I read the novella and I read the first book in July, and then the rest of them I read in August. No, I think I read the first 2. I read a novella and then the first 2 books, and then the last 3 and another little novella at the end I read in August, and they were kind of fun. So the first one is The Zombie Chronicles, so that's kind of in a zombie apocalypse, and I'm usually not into the zombie books because it's just freaky. Like, yeah, just knowing there's like nothing going on up here, to no mercy, compassion, nothing. They're like food, and that's it. So yeah, I'm not a fan of zombie books. They're scary. So, but this one was actually kind of interesting. I enjoyed it. It wasn't super long. But then there was Eternal Vows, and that one is a vampire story. So that one was fun. And then Enchanted Castle, that one was kind of interesting. It's a portal fantasy where one of the main characters lost her sister to a Sasquatch, and so she is on the hunt for Sasquatches and trying to get proof that they actually exist and that she's not just making this up, and ends up in a portal that goes to a different dimension where they still have, knights and, sword fighting and all of that kind of stuff. So it kind of goes back in time and gets mistaken for the princess, and she is kind of kidnapped and forced to marry the king of another world or another kingdom. And yeah, so it was cute. And then the last one was Castaway. This one was 3 best friends, and they're with her parents, so it's 2 boys and a girl, and they get caught in this hurricane type storm, and they're like in Fiji area, Tahiti, somewhere off of Florida area, and somehow they find themselves in somewhere around New Zealand, Australia, but they're not sure if it's actually the same world, the same time period, because things are slightly different, but yet they're the same, and how do we travel that far so fast? And they have to try and survive this new place that they're in. And that one was probably the least interesting to me out of all of them. I would probably continue on to the second book of the majority of these because they were interesting. My favorite though was actually the first novella. It was kind of an apocalyptic world where they knew something was coming, and some brainiacs came up with this idea to build a sphere under the water and survive down there until the air is clear up above and all of that. I think it was an asteroid or something that was going to crash into the world Earth, so it was going to be like the whole like dinosaur ice age kind of stuff going on. They're not allowed to go to the surface unless you get chosen, and those chosen get to go up and work on the surface to help rebuild and grow food and all of that kind of stuff. And once you reach adulthood, so when you turn 18, then you are able to then be chosen to go and work up above. And is kind of interesting, but even just that dynamic of it, that part of the story. Then we throw into the mix, someone just got murdered on this little sphere bubble in the ocean, and they're pretty sure this is actually the second murder. So they may have a serial killer on board, and how do you escape from that? Yeah. So that one was definitely interesting, and I would want to find more. I don't know if there was a second, like if there's more to that story, or if it was just a fun novella, but that one had me intrigued. The rest of them were decent, very YA. The next book I finished was A Tempest of Tea by Hafsa Faisal, and this was so good. I really enjoyed it. It is definitely 4 stars. I believe I gave Suspending Reality 4 stars as well, because overall all of the books together brought it up. Even that first book was definitely a 4-star. They were good enough. The last one I probably would give just a 3, but overall, as a compilation, 4 stars. So, Tempest of Tea. I like this one. There's some good little twists and turns kind of throughout the book that kind of kept you intrigued and wanting to know more, what's going to happen next. And the ending was awesome, and I can't wait to see what happens in the second book. Very excited for that. So we have a lady who owns a little tea establishment, and during the day it's a nice little cafe where you can go and get some tea and some pastries, and then in the evening it turns around. They have a really quick turnaround. It's like, go! And they reset everything, and it's now a den for a little cafe for vampires where they serve blood to the vampires so they don't have to go out and, harm humans in order to get something to eat. And then again in the morning it's like, quick, turn around. And they reset it again for the patrons in the morning for a little tea and pastries. And there's mystery and intrigue. The characters I thought were great, well developed, and there's a little heist in there which was kind of fun. It's not on the level of like Six of Crows kind of heist up here, but it was still fun enough, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I did a lot of reading on my Kindle this first part of the month, and a lot of time listening to audiobooks, but not a lot of audio books, if that makes sense. We'll get to those in a minute. Next up, I did read Talks Like Thunder, and this is by Randall Nurhus and Marjorie Carter. This is from the perspective of a young Apache, and her parents are now both passed away, and her grandfather, who is a Chiricahuan, comes and picks her up and takes her back to his tribe because his daughter had married into the Apache tribe, and so they had moved there. And the first chapter I really enjoyed, mainly because it was set in Arizona, and so I knew all the places they were talking about, and it just was really nice. And then they migrated into New Mexico for the rest of the story, but it was still kind of fun having that, just knowing all of the words and the names of all these places and where they were. So that was kind of cool. But this is a story of the Apaches and the Chiricahuans and all of the Native Americans during the 1800s when they were rounded up and sent to reservations and having sent to the mandatory schooling, and just the horrors that they went through, and just some of what was lost when that happened, which was just so devastating. It's always so sad when you lose a piece of culture, and I hope that that is something that never happens again. But this book was really good. It ends a little interestingly. I like the ending, and then there's like another paragraph or two after kind of where the natural ending is, and I felt like that made the book a little more disjointed. It kind of sets you up for the second book, because I think that there's a few books in this series, and I liked kind of how it ended the paragraph or two before, because it ended on like a strong note, and then you get this last couple of paragraphs that end more like as a question, and didn't really vibe with that part of it. But otherwise, 4.5 stars. I definitely enjoyed it. And then I felt like I was just taking way too long to read some of these books, and I needed something short to bust through some more of these things on my TBR. So I pulled up, and this one isn't even on my TBR. It's on my TBR for one of the Readathons. For Draconathon, I read this for the Daisy prompt, which is any book under 250 pages. And it also worked for my TBR Questathon, and that was for Halfling Village, any book under 200 pages. And this one was 44 pages, I think. And it was a comic, and it is Storm Dragons. And this is by L.S. Rees and Frank Fernandez, who did the artwork. Overall, I enjoyed it. I gave it 3.5 stars. I thought it was an interesting story, but a little too short. There definitely needed to be a little bit more. There was at times when it was maybe a little too much, and then other times just not enough. So I enjoyed it, but I think if this had been more in like a volume 1 kind of thing, where you have like the first 4 sections or episodes, however you want to call them, I think that would have been less of a disjointed read. So I did enjoy it. I'm interested to see where it's going to go, and if I need another short book, I will pick up the second one. Next up was an audiobook that I did start in July. I only listened to an hour of it in July. I needed something when I was running some errands, and so I popped that on. But it is a almost 45 hour audiobook. So this one took me a little while, but oh, was it worth it? So worth it. So the ebook is 1,483 pages. So this one took me a while. So I did start it in July. I only listened to it one day in July. All the rest of it was in August, and that is Of War and Ruin by Ryan Cahill, and this is the 3rd book in the Bound and the Broken series, and yeah, so good. So good. 5 stars. Pretty much 10s across the board, like characterization, world building, magic system, pacing, logic, enjoyment, intrigue, all of it. Writing style, 10 out of 10, 5 stars. Must read. I love this series. This is probably one of my favorite series ever. Check it out. Ryan Cahill, all self-published. So good. Can't rave about it enough. Now the next 3 books that I finished, I did return to my library because they were due, and so I needed to get those returned. But the first one was Snuff by Terry Pratchett, and this is the 39th book in the Discworld series, and another 5-star, so good. It's another Commander Vimes. When I first finished reading it, I kind of was thinking, yeah, this is a good 4.5-star book. But after a couple of days kind of sitting with it, I just kept thinking about it and thinking about it. And so I'm like, no, yeah, no, it's a 5-star, definitely. And you follow Commander Vimes, where he is pretty much forced to take a vacation. So him and his wife and his son go on out to the country estate and hang out there. And of course, the first night he's like, it is too quiet. I cannot sleep. Why is it so quiet? This is no. After the next day, you know, he's bored. He slept a little better because he was a little more used to it. He knows it's not going to be noisy at all. And then he's just like, oh, what am I going to do? I'm so bored. But then something happens. And he's got a little something he can focus his attention on. And it's, yeah, so good. So good. The characters are so much fun, and I love Terry Pratchett's writing style and how he can take some hard-hitting issues and he writes about them in such a nice way that gets his point across but still keeps things light and friendly without like getting in your face about things or making people's hackles rise. So I do appreciate that about Terry Pratchett. And then, of course, since we have Sam Vine's son, little Sam Jr., there's going to be some kind of children's story. And in this one was The World of Poo by Terry Pratchett, the 39.5 book in the Discworld series. And this one I thought was really cute too. I enjoyed this one. I gave this one 4 stars. This one follows a young boy who is learning all about the different poo of animals all around him. And so I think some people call that a scatologist. And it was just so cute. And he's off to visit his grandmother because his mom is having another baby. So his mom and dad are, you know, at the hospital doing that. And so the young boy goes to hang out with his grandmother while that's happening. And I love how supportive the grandmother is. She is like, you want to learn about poo? Let's go for it. So let's go to the zoo and talk to the people there. And like she sets all these things up and goes with him on some of them. And I just think that is so awesome. It was very entertaining. And then the last book I finished was The Sleeper and the Spindle by Neil Gaiman. And this one is kind of a mashup retelling of Sleeping Beauty and Snow White, but with a little bit of a twist. And I don't want to tell too much about it because even though some of it's at the beginning, it kind of gives some away for the rest of it. So I don't want to say a whole lot about it, but it was very interesting and enjoyable. I love the little twists and the different takes that he took on the 2 different stories and how he kind of mashed them up together. And it was very cute. I enjoyed it. So where am I with TBR? So I have finished 1, 2, 3, 4. I did finish 5 of the books on my TBR, and I am currently in the middle of 2 more. So technically 3 prompts because one of them is for 2 different. One book is for 2 different prompts. I am 91% of the way through Crime and Punishment. I know this is, yeah, I don't have the cover up because I'm still reading it, but yeah. Crime and Punishment, I'm 91% of the way through, and it's definitely interesting. Some of it's still a little, you know, over my head. I don't get all the nuances of it, but I do appreciate that they are there, even if I don't always catch them or quite understand them all. But it's definitely interesting. It's kind of a take on someone who commits a crime and are they evading punishment? Are they going to get punished? How are they dealing with the time between the crime and the punishment, right? How that time period goes, and it's interesting. I have found with most of the Russian literature that I have read so far, there's definitely a lot of mental health issues in there. So whether that just be someone dealing with death of a loved one or someone dealing with some type of madness or something going on psychologically for them, a lot of Russian literature seems to deal with those issues, which is always quite interesting. And then I am right here. I just have this little bit left, so I'm almost done. I am really hoping I can finish this today, and that is the Fangs of War by E.J. Doble, and this is the beautiful Page and Wick edition. So stunning, and we got the black sprayed edges. Of course, if you want to see a full unboxing of this, I will link that up in the cards above, because I do have the unboxing with the end papers and everything all shown nicely. This one is definitely interesting. I think I would have enjoyed it more if I had been able to take longer periods at a time reading it. So I'm kind of doing like a half hour here, 20 minutes there, another 10-15 minutes there. If I had taken like a couple hours and just sat and read, I think I would be in the story a little bit more than I am. But it's definitely interesting, and I like all the different POVs, all the different characters, and the different cities and the different cultures and everything that are in there. It's a good one. It's definitely more of a grimdark, a lot of morally gray characters in here, but also some black and white characters as well, which is always kind of interesting. And yeah, hopefully I will be finishing that and Crime and Punishment today. I'm hoping. I'm doing Crime and Punishment on audiobook along with the physical book, and then, or the digital book, and then also the Fangs of War. Then to finish up my TBR, I still need to read The Long Way to a Slow Angry Planet by I keep saying slow. The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. But that was not too bad. It's a little on the big side, but not too bad. Visit 441 pages, not too bad. And then I also have Camp Half-Blood Confidential by Rick Riordan. That one's a short one, and pictures and everything in there, so this shouldn't take, and big margins and everything in there. And then this little bit at the end is a sneak peek of one of the other books. So I've already read this book before, so I don't need to read that part, so it's just this part. But yeah, it shouldn't take me too long to get through this one. So these two, definitely doable. I also need to get through Shadow Song by S.J. James, and this is the second book in the Winter Song duology. I'm pretty sure it's a duology. So I've got this much left so far. And then also A Natural History of Dragons by Marie Brennan, and this one is the first book in the Memoirs of Lady Trent series, and that's not too long either. I am kind of like, it does have deckled edges. So let me know down in the comments, what do you think about deckled edges? Do you like deckled edges in a book? Or do you not? I don't. I'm not a fan of deckled edges in reading books. If it's a journal, as in like a diary, something where you're going to be, it's aligned pages or blank pages and you're just writing or drawing or something like that, then I think deckled edges add character and they're kind of interesting. But in a reading book, I'm not a fan. Yeah, so I do still need to get to all of these. There is, a week and a half left, almost 2 weeks left of August, so not too concerned. But I also do still want to get to both of these. Raising Steam, the 40th book in the Discworld series, so close to being done. There's 41 books in the series, so close. And then Knife of Dreams. But what else do I have for readathons? Let's see. For Buzzwordathon, I read Talks Like Thunder, so I got that one covered already. For Year in Aeldia, for Karasu, he still needs to read A Natural History of Dragons. But Ariel already read Of War and Ruin, so that was good. And the book was good too. Definitely gotta read it. So good. And then we have Knife of Dreams still for TBR Questathon. And I did read Of War and Ruin, or of War and Ruin for that one. I have Camp Half-Blood to read, Long Way to the Small Angry Planet, The Fangs of War, Crime and Punishment, Nightfall. That's the other one I still need to read. I forgot that one's on my TBR-opoly as well. I forgot about that. That's another 43-hour audiobook. But the series is so good. I know I will fly through that. It'll probably take me close to a week to finish it, depending on how much time I have, but I don't have the worship team the last week of August. We are doing the first week of September instead, so I will have a little bit of extra time at the end of the month than I thought I would. There it is. Nightfall by David Estes. This is the 4th book in the Kingfall History series. So good. I don't know about my choice to put Nightfall and Of War and Ruin on the same TBR, because they are kind of similar style books, like totally different, but similar style. Definitely an epic fantasy month. So most of the books that are on my TBR-opoly are also on the Readathons. So I don't really have any extras that I need to read for Questathon, except for the Storm Dragons, which I already read. And then Draconathon, same thing. It's the only one that would be whether I get to Knife of Dreams or not. And if I do, that would be the very last book I read. I'm also doing Battleathon, and so far I've had 2 5-star, 5 4-star, and 1 3.5 star, 1 3-star, because half stars don't count for Battleathon. I still feel like I'm a little behind because, 13, I think the 17 books total with the extra ones for my readathons, and I'm only on 8. Not quite halfway through, but I do have some short books still to go, so hopefully I will make it. If not, I get a punishment and start September off with a little bit of a deficit, which, we have... well, the Magical Readathon video came out today, so that was amazing, and I cannot wait to start building my TBR for the Magical Readathon for September. I'm so excited about that. I already have so many ideas of how I want to set it up in my journal and everything. So excited. I've already started making a list of all the books that I want to read, and I'm also taking part in Seasonathon Academy again this year, and that one already came out, so I already kind of have my books planned out for that one, and hopefully they will also work for Magical Readathon. We also, in September, we also usually have Becca's Bookopoly. Now, she did it in October last year, so we'll see, because I know she takes part in Magical Readathon, so we'll see if she does September again or switches it to October. We'll see. And then also Stephanie's Star Hop. So Stephanie's Bookverse usually does a little mini Star Hop game, which is her TBR game. And it's usually a weekend long, I think. I think it's usually over a weekend, or it might be a full week. One of the two, but that's typically in September as well. So we'll see if those ones also kind of come into play for September. We'll see what happens. Now for the unboxing. Broken binding. So excited. Now, of course, you've probably already seen this unboxed somewhere, and I already know what the books are. One thing I thought was pretty cool, they did let us know that the book was going to be late this month because the map that they wanted to put in there wasn't fitting quite right, and so they wanted to make it correct. So they took a little extra time and made sure it was printed correctly, and I thought that was pretty cool. But we also get some digital artwork, which is cool. I didn't know we were going to get that. That's awesome. Put that up here. There we go. Bookmark. Jade City, July of 2024. So this one, the clan is my blood and the pillar is its master. On my honor, my life, and my jade. And it does have the Greenbone Saga sticker up here at the top. And then we have the wonderful Christmas present type wrapping, which is always so much fun. I love how easy the tape comes up off the paper. So nice. I mean, you can get right in there and rip this sucker open, but it also opens up nicely. Ooh. I bet I can reuse this in my journal for the Magical Readathon. Both sides would work, actually. Ooh, ideas are generating. All right, Jade City. Now, I have not read the Greenbone Saga yet. It was never a priority to read this book, so I don't really know a whole lot about it. I mean, I know the basic premise of it, but I don't really know a lot about the book. But let's go ahead and take a look at everything here. And it says, expectations are a funny thing. When you're born with them, you resent them, fight against them. When you've never been given any, you feel the lack of them your whole life. Interesting. So then we have one of the characters in like a stained glass type of design, and I do like the stained glass style on both of these, especially since I just did a stained glass theme in my, was it my bullet journal? Yeah, not too long ago. Ooh, I almost like the naked hardcover better. I love the knives here. It's the same as what's on the window panels there. By Jade City by Fonda Lee. Oh, I like the back too. The clan is my blood and the pillar is its master. So I may actually display them this way. I think once I kind of learn who the characters are, I may appreciate the cover a little bit more, but right now so we have the end papers, which is pretty fun here. I'll get my fingers out of the way for you. And then, ooh, interesting. Sorry, I should be showing you and not Googling at it on my own here. So this is the part that's the map. That was the issue. So we have Janloon was a study in contradictions that could befuddle even someone born there. A bubbling dirty stew and a modern glamorous metropolis at the same time. A place overly conscious of trying to be a world-class city despite being at its core a system of clan fiefdoms. Interesting. The map wasn't fitting, so they did a fold-out map. So they wanted to make, it wasn't going to fit on just the 2 pages, so they wanted to give it that extra space to really do it credit justice, you know. So very cool. So you have the Mountain Clan, the No Peak Clan, disputed areas, neutral, it has a subway line and parks and a hospital. Very cool. Very fun. Yeah, but it was nice that they kind of reached out to everybody and let them know, like, hey, it's going to be a little bit, but we want to get the map right. So I just thought, I appreciated that. I thought that was cool. That means I had to get this on my TBR. And then again, we have the dust jacket here. We have Fonda Lee. Yeah, I'm very excited to read this. I do want to read this. I just wasn't making it a priority to read it. So now I need to. Although I do think I will do it without the dust jacket. We'll see. Maybe we'll start with it this way because that's pretty cool too. I feel like it works really well with the Lies of Loch Lamora cover also. They complement, the colors complement each other very, really well. So I gotta figure out, oh, it's the same. Interesting. I got this one with, when I got the Republic of Thieves, I think. So now I gotta figure out if these are from Jade City or if it's from the Lies of Loch Lamora. Gentleman Bastard series or, If you know, let me know, because I haven't read either of those series yet, and I definitely need to. So maybe we will do this for now. Ooh. See if I can. There we go. Let's showcase the artwork instead of the books. There we go. And I have my messy cookbook shelf down here. We'll ignore that for now. But thank you so much for joining me today as I talked you through what I've read so far and what I still need to read and what we've been doing. And oh, so my husband and I just celebrated our 28th wedding anniversary this week, just a couple days ago, so that was a lot of fun. And we went to a restaurant for our anniversary for lunch. Unfortunately, it was very crowded, so we ended up sitting out on the patio outside, which was very enjoyable, but we didn't get the same ambiance as the inside, and it is called the Bear and Dragon. It's actually named after their kids' nicknames, but it is a bookish theme restaurant. So you can get a Charles Dickens breakfast, which is kind of like the full English breakfast, or you can get the John Steinbeck breakfast, which is a classic American breakfast, or you could get the Bjorn panini, and that is one of the characters in the Lord of the Rings. So all of the dishes are named after either books or authors. So the drinks, so like coffee and tea, are the table of contents, and chapter 1 is your breakfast or appetizers, depending on if you're there for breakfast, lunch, or if you're there for dinner. And then chapter 2 is lunch, and then they have like the epilogue, which is your desserts, and they have like the author's acknowledgments, which is like the cocktails, and it is just so cute. And then they bring you your check or your bill inside a book. So they take a book, and in the middle of it they put your receipt. So then you just pull it out, you sign it, put your card back in, whatever, and then you hand them the book back. And I just thought that was adorable, and the food was amazing. I had the smog from the dragon in Lord of the Rings, and it was so good. So it was sun-dried tomatoes, and it had brie and cheddar, and there was a basil pine nut pesto, and oh yeah, it was yummy, so good. So everybody, there was my in-laws were there with us too, and so all 4 of us just loved our meal. There was a mushroom soup that my father-in-law got, and then a couple other sandwiches that they got, but oh yeah, it was delicious. And we can't wait to go back for breakfast and dinner and try out some of their other options, and hopefully sit inside, because there are a lot of books inside. So beautiful, and hopefully I will be able to take some pictures while I'm in there, or get a little video of at least some of the ambiance, because it was really fun. So yeah, we had a great anniversary, and now I need to go set up my Magical Readathon TBR, because I cannot wait to get started on that. And if you made it this far in the video, leave a bear or a dragon emoji in the comments to let me know that you are here. And please like, comment, and subscribe if you want to. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any other bookish content. And until next time, keep reading. Bye!